remember. I like that I can put like my own personality behind it. And
Yeah.
then he's like, well, how long do we got? And I just hit him with well, it all depends on how many questions you got. You need a lot of my time? And he's like, I don't know. I was like, let's go ahead and sit down and went over it. Ended up settling with policy, but it was pretty good. So, but
Yeah.
Awesome.
he didn't even know I was coming, but it was like, it was good. It was nice. It was nice. So it's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's sweet, bro. I'm happy to hear that. Like,
Yeah.
all you gotta do is just apply this stuff. That's it. Like,
Right.
just go out and apply it, because just like you said, when you ask somebody a question like that, do you need a lot of my time? Like, especially they don't even know that you're coming or anything. They're gonna be like, well, I'm not sure. Well, good.
Right.
We'll know in a minute then. once
Right.
you sit down. So
Right.
sweet, man. Yeah, just keep doing that, man. You're going. Like I say, if you do that to like 10 houses, like make 10 contacts a day. Or I'm not talking about just knocking on 10 doors, but make 10 contacts.
Right.
Like, you will get in probably at least like 3 or 4 houses.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
With minimum skill, at least 2 houses. Minimum.
Right. That was
Okay.
pretty good. I mean, yeah, I really like I said, I tell Dwayne I'm a slow learner, so I've watched the whole training video like 5-6 times, like,
Yeah.
I was like,
So,
but,
oh yeah. So before I start this presentation, I do want to let you know I actually I'm starting today. I'll be recording the sales presentation. I pretty much like just typed up. I literally watched the whole video. I typed everything up from the video, and I'm pretty much, because I want to give y'all the same information I was putting in that video, and I'm going to break it down into separate videos. So I'm just going to do like individual videos, just pretty much record myself, and like edit the videos for you all, so it'll be easier for y'all to follow along and just be able to jump into like any area that y'all feel like y'all want to jump into, so you don't have to try to scrub and uh have separate timelines. I did have to take a course, to learn how to do this. So, but it's gonna be pretty sweet though. So I'm gonna start it today. I feel like I should be able to have all those videos like recorded and edited by next weekend. Okay.
is that why we're not having training next week?
No, I'll be training. Dwayne is abandoning y'all next week, not me.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Hey, I want to ask, and I'm gonna shut up after I ask this, but I want to could you after the training call, could we spend about 5 minutes? Can you help me with my script, my phone
Oh,
script?
sure.
So,
Yeah, that's not an issue, man.
all right.
Well,
thank you.
Dwayne is and his wife, they going on vacation, because they ain't going on vacation in like a year, like a whole
Right.
year. So
Yeah, so
That's-
I'll be
yeah,
back.
he basically called he called me getting married this year my vacation, so I can't take off. But yeah, so sweet. So look, y'all, this presentation right here, we're going to be I feel like the title summarize this whole thing, persuasion in a nutshell. I'm going to dive deep into this concept for everybody. I prepared this because understanding this topic will help when it comes to using the techniques that we teach in the sales training. Okay, my goal is to pretty much shed light around the origins of persuasion. All right, and to also bring you more up to speed on how we can use it in our practice today. So you'll really see that it's all about asking questions, but more importantly, asking the right questions. And that's a question that we always ask, right? What's the right question? So here's a quote that I like for everybody to write down. All right. Pretty much says persuasion can go through obstacles that force cannot. Right. This is from Yusuf. I'm not going to butcher his last name, but I feel like this quote speaks volumes, especially into the line of work that we do. Right. Persuasion can go through obstacles that force cannot. All right. Force sounds like, man, I'm just not interested. Then the agent says, no problem. I have your address is 123 Main Street. Is that correct? That's force. We didn't address, or we didn't persuade them, right, on why they should be. We didn't ask any questions. So that's force.
Right.
Or I don't remember. I don't remember what I had for breakfast. I have your date of birth as force. Nothing was addressed. We didn't move them from that statement. We have to move people from these places of, like, this is a belief that they have. This is an idea that's in their minds. We have to move them from that. Okay? Like attracts like. Bring forceful energy, you'll be met with forceful energy in the form of a phone or a door slamming on you. So I say take the path of least resistance. Okay? Take it with persuasion and ask the right questions. Okay? The path of least resistance is with persuasion. That's what we want. That's why you were able to get inside that door, you know, by asking the guy the question, well, will you need a lot of my time? You persuaded him to let you inside of his home. Okay? So to start off, and Dwayne brought this up yesterday, what is persuasion? Let me get an answer from one person, your idea on what persuasion is.
Like a strategical way of convincing.
A strategical way of convincing. Okay? And we're gonna really get into that. A strategical way of convincing. I like that. So I'm gonna give you my interpretation later, but what Webster says, he said it's the act or process or an instance of persuading, right? So we understand that persuasion is a thing that we do. It's a thing. So now it's like, well, what is that thing? Like, how do I do it, right? What does it mean to persuade? So what does it mean to persuade? We know that persuading is something that we're doing. So what does it mean to persuade someone?
Convince.
To convince someone. Anybody disagree with that?
Not really.
Art of making them change their minds. The art of making them change their minds.
So by the time we get to the bottom line of this, I promise you, like, you all will definitely see the big difference in persuasion and convincing. This idea that we all currently have on this, you know, this the similarities between persuading and convincing is what's making it difficult for us in our questioning process. Okay, it's hard to know what to ask next if you think that persuading is like, you know, is convincing pretty much, right? Just talking about moving the belief, is changing their mind. So to persuade, yes.
Is it, I was gonna say, is it the ability to actually get them to sort of see their own side of things in a certain way? Something to do with like themselves, sort of them recognizing it versus you telling them or convincing, because we're really not about convincing someone of what we believe. We're really trying to just get them to understand their own perspective, right?
Yeah, and in our field, absolutely. Now, but to persuade, this is what Webster says: to move by argument, entreaty, or expostulation to a belief, position, or a course of action. Okay? Entreaty means to discuss something or to examine something. So when people say things, we have to examine what's been said. Let's talk about it. You're not interested? Well, let me examine it. Why aren't you interested? Is it because this or that? That's why we give you that objection. Is it because this or because that? Because that's us being persuasive, allowing them to choose, right? Expostulation, that's more of, you know, I'm sorry, expostulation is pretty much is examining something. Entreaty is more of a pleading with somebody. All right, pretty much when you're asking somebody something urgently, trying to get somebody to move, to take action. So convincing is not getting someone to take action. Convincing is changing the belief in their head without any action taking place. So think of this, just remember these two parts of this definition: to move or course of action. Why will we need people to take a course of action in what we do?
Because people get stuck. They get stuck. I know that I have like quite a few people sort of stuck. They know they need it, but there's still like that course of action that I'm not quite sure how to move them through, but they don't know how to move through it either.
Right. So and that's what convincing people don't do. Convincing people don't move them. You can help somebody understand they need life insurance. You can say you need it because this and that and this and that, and they're convinced. They're like, oh, that's true. Well, I guess I'll think about all this. I got a lot to think about now.
Exactly. Now what? They're like, okay,
So-
great. Yeah, that sounds good. I need that for sure.
Right. So yeah, so they're convinced. Okay, they're convinced. So we're going to dive deep into these topics right here. I just want to get these questions out. Why is persuasion important for sales reps? Why is it important for us?
I guess after what you just said, I mean, it's because it allows us to lead.
Allow us to lead.
Right? Instead of just saying a bunch of things without leading towards action.
Yes.
And I don't know if I'm right, but that's what I'm hearing.
I think
So,
it
yeah.
allows them to make the decision to purchase instead of being told to purchase. So like people like to buy, they don't like to be sold.
Right. So when you think of persuasion and you tie the two, you'll see that selling properly is a consequence of persuasion. Okay, meaning that when you're being persuasive, you are selling properly. When you're convincing, you're not. It's going to lead to more chargebacks. Therefore, you must understand the phenomenon of persuasion to use persuasion itself more effectively. Proper selling and persuasion are intertwined. Like you can't have one without the other. All right. So as we like dive into this, I want to know like, where does the art of persuasion come from? Any ideas like where like, if you study text, anything like that, where people are saying this pretty much come from as far as back as we know?
Back in the day for barter, when we used to barter for food or goods, the art of persuasion, I'll give you this for that. Why, so I would think from the art of bartering.
Okay. Any other ideas?
I don't read any texts or anything like that, but about persuasion, but I think it has something to do with the human nature of relationships and building relationships.
Yeah.
Like
So
you have to persuade somebody to be, in a relationship with you or something. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking about.
absolutely. So now think about this though, right? There's a difference between the person that nearly get their way almost all the time and a person that don't get their way mostly all the time. So for example, if I'm like out prospecting, I'm going to get inside of a house more than somebody who don't have the same skill set that I have. Even though we're both trying to get inside someone's house, I'm going to get inside more than the average person just because of my skill and practice and understanding of what we're trying to do and how to go about it. Right? A lot of people are trying to convince people why I'll be able to help you save some money. You're trying to convince the person to get in their house. That's why I always say like, but the money don't mean anything. I can help you say you spend $100. What if I could get you a policy for 75? I can help you do that. Trying to convince yourself to get in there, right? The art of persuasion, it comes from Greece. All right. So the Greeks, right? The Greeks emphasize rhetoric and elocution as the highest standard for a successful politician. Like during this time, all trials, they were all held in front of the assembly. And both the prosecution and the defense rested on the persuasiveness of the speaker. So if anybody is familiar with like ancient Greece, right, you'll know that this is where guys like Socrates, Plato, and Crito are from. And while I was putting this together, I thought it would be good to share a page or two from the book Apology. So in this book, Socrates, he's being charged in court for multiple reasons. And I'm going to jump into the second charge and show you how he go about persuading the assembly. So I just want y'all to follow along these passages, and it's going to show you the power of questions and pretty much how to ask the right ones and what that can do for you. Okay, is anybody in here familiar with like Socrates at all?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, is big philosopher, but I just want y'all to it's just 2 pages I'm gonna read. This is like something that came from the Socratic Method. The Socratic Method is named after Socrates. This is a method for questioning to persuade. So I just want y'all to see how like what a real master at work look like while being charged. So 2 pages, bear with me, y'all. I'm not this read in person, but I'm gonna do my best. All right. So he said, I have said enough in my defense against the first class of my accusers. I turn to the second class, who are headed by Miletus, that good and patriotic man, as he calls himself. And now I will try to defend myself against them. These new accusers must also have their affidavit read. What do they say? Something of this sort, that Socrates is a doer of evil and corrupter of the youth, and he does not believe in the gods of the state, and has other new divinities of his of his own. That is the sort of charge. And now let us examine the particular counts. He said that I am a doer of evil who corrupt the youth. But I say, O men of Athens, that Miletus is a doer of evil, and the evil is that he makes a joke of a serious matter and is too ready at bringing other men to trial from a pretended zeal and interest about matters in which he really never had the smallest interest. And the truth of this I will endeavor to prove. Come hither, Miletus, and let me ask a question of you. So let me just press pause real quick, okay? He said, and the truth of this I will endeavor to prove. And then starting off, he said, let me ask a question of you. So he's not about to prove by convincing, right? He's about to prove through questions. So he said, you think, this is how he started off. You think a great deal about the improvement of youth. The guy, yes, I do. Tell the judges then, who is their improver? For you must know, as you have taken the pains to discover their corrupter, which is me, and are citing and accusing me before them. Speak then and tell the judges who their improver is. Observe, Miletus, that you are silent and have nothing to say. But is not this rather disgraceful and very considerable proof of what I was saying, that you have no interest in the matter? Speak up, friend, and tell us who their improver is. The guy says, the laws. But that, my good sir, is not my meaning. I want to know who the person is who in the first place knows the laws. So you see, like, Socrates know where he want to go with this. And he got to get it out of the guy. The guy just tried to say the laws, and you see he's diving deeper, right? He said, but the laws. But that, my good sir, is not my meaning. I want to know who the person is who in the first place knows the laws. The judges, Socrates, who are present in court. What do you mean to say, Miletus, that they are able to instruct and improve youth? Certainly they are. What, all of them? Or some? Only and not others? All of them. By the goddess here, that is good news. There are plenty of improvers then. And what do you say of the audience? Do they improve them? Yes, they do. And the senators? Yes, the senators improve them. But perhaps the ecclesiastics corrupt them, or do they too improve them? They improve them. He just, like, you see how he's making him say all these other people are improving the children. And then do y'all see how he just kind of mislabeled? He said, but perhaps the ecclesiastics corrupt them. Or do they too improve them? He gave them two options, right? The illusion of choice. Either way you go, right? So the guy says, they improve them. Then every Athenian improves and elevates them, all with the exception of myself. And I alone am their corrupter. Is that what you affirm? That is what I stoutly affirm. I am very unfortunate if that is true. But suppose I ask you a question. Would you say that this also holds true in the case of horses? Does one man do them harm and all the world good? Is not the exact opposite of this true? One man is able to do them good, or at least not many. The trainer of horses, that is to say, does them good, and others who have to do with them rather injure them. Is not that true? Miletus, or horses, or any other animals? Yes, certainly. Whether you and Anidas say yes or no, that is no matter. Happy indeed would be the condition of youth if they had one corrupter only, and all the rest of the world were their improvers. And you, Miletus, have sufficiently shown that you never had a thought about the young. Your carelessness is seen in you not caring about the matter spoken of in this very indictment. So y'all see, he just got all the way down to showing him that you're saying. Can y'all hear me? Mic check. He basically just got everybody to see that this guy is.
Probably need charging.
Right now?
Yep, now I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, yeah.
I just kept hearing it say muted in my headset. It's not even dead. I'm not sure why, but basically what I'm saying is he just got them all the way down to seeing that this man is trying to say that everybody else is doing the kids good except him, right? And he's saying his argument now is that, well, if that's true, if I'm the only person doing them harm, then that means this world is phenomenal then. They only have only one person to worry about. So now he's at this point, right? So now he's transitioning. And now, Miletus, I must ask you another question.
better to live among bad citizens or among good ones? Answer, friend. I say, for that is a question which may be easily answered. That was the guy's response. Do not the good do their neighbors good and the bad do them evil? So now this is, the guy responded with giving him a question back. That's an easy response. Don't bad people do bad things and good people do good. That's what the man said out of his own mouth. He's in Socrates responds with certainty. And he goes with, and is there anyone who would rather be injured than benefited by those who live with him? Answer, my good friend. The law requires you to answer. Does anyone like to be injured? The guy says, certainly not. And when you accuse me of corrupting and deteriorating the youth, do you allege that I corrupt them intentionally or unintentionally? The man says intentionally. But you have just admitted that the good do their neighbors good and the evil do them evil. Now, is that a truth which your superior wisdom has recognized this early in life? And am I at my age in such darkness and ignorance as not to know that if a man with whom I have to live is corrupted by me, I am very likely to be harmed by him, and yet I corrupt him, and intentionally too. That is what you are saying, and of that you will never persuade me or any other human being. But either I do not corrupt them or I corrupt them unintentionally. So that in either view of the case, you lie. My offense is unintentional. The law has no cognizance of unintentional offenses. You ought to have taken me privately and warned and admonished me. For if I had been better advised, I should have left off doing what I only did unintentionally. No doubt I should. Whereas you hated to converse with me or to teach me, but you indicted me in this court, which is a place not of instruction, but of punishment. Do y'all see how he just walked this man down from top to, like, where he was trying to go with that? From top to bottom to prove his innocence? If Socrates would have started at his predetermined destination, the probability of him losing that argument increases dramatically, right? His bottom line was proving that he wouldn't intentionally corrupt the youth. That was his bottom line. That's where he wanted to get to, which leaves the defense with only being able to accuse him of unintentionally doing so. Apparently, there weren't any laws for unintentionally doing harm at that time. So it was nothing they would be able to do. Why was he never pulled to the side for proper adjustment in his teaching? Maybe someone was looking to punish him. So he broke down his accuser's argument from top to bottom. The argument for insurance reps is people believing they don't need insurance or some other ideas, whatever the people have. And all we have to do is steadily break down their belief through a series of questions. Now, the convincing method would have sounded something like, I would never intentionally corrupt the youth. Statements put you at a disadvantage because you lose control, okay? Questions give you an advantage because through them, you can lead the person to your solution. If Socrates said, I would never intentionally corrupt the youth, Miletus could have responded with, well, that makes sense that you wouldn't intentionally corrupt the youth, but indeed you have been unintentionally corrupting the youth. Is that correct? That would have put Socrates at a huge disadvantage, right? Now, of course, that would never happen because he was too clever in his ability to ask questions to win arguments. There's a whole method to asking questions named after him. Like I said, it's called the Socratic Method. And it's pretty much where you're just asking these questions to break down. So as y'all see, he knew exactly where he wanted to go. He thought well ahead. Instead of just trying to explain everything, he made this guy speak first so he can know best how to move forward. Does that make sense to everybody? Do everybody see how he was able to walk through that to prove himself without trying to convince anything?
Yeah. It's kind of like basically like flipping the script.
Flipping the script.
Yeah,
So-
essentially, we've got to do the same thing they do in court, which is ask a bunch of questions.
To get to where you want to get to.
Yeah.
So we have that out the way, right? Let's talk about convincing and persuading. All right. Convincing is when you change the other person's mind by arguing or showing evidence, right? You change the person's mind, but no action is taking place. You just changed their mind, right? Hey, if you pass away tomorrow, your family not going to be able to cover anything. So you just show some evidence because you probably know how much money they make. That don't mean they're going to move forward. Now it's just like, I need to think about it. Persuasion, when you persuade somebody, is when you attempt to get someone else to see something your way by appealing to reason and creating movement. All right. So let's dive into it a little deeper. If you look up the origin of convince, right? The word convince is Latin and it means convincere, which means to win. Meaning if I convince you, I win. It's more forceful. People don't like to feel like they just lost at something. So it's like when you're just telling somebody something, they don't want to just roll over and just feel like they just lost. They're going to put up a fight because that's what it feels like. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same as winning you over. It's I convinced you, I win. On the other side of that, persuasion, to persuade, the origin comes from suave, which means soft, right? It derives from making something taste better, become more palatable. If someone try to convince you why you should buy a policy with them, you probably feel like they're just trying to get paid. It's just like, yeah, you saying all this stuff, you telling me all these things, it all sounds good, but I know y'all get paid good money, so let me think about this. I need to think about it. You just telling me all this stuff, filling my head. You're filling my head with all this information. But if you butter up the conversation, if you butter it up, approach them softly, pretty much inducing ideas that they never considered, they may be more open to conversing with you. So one approach is forceful, the other is more of a soft approach. Convincing is like shoving ideas into someone's head and hope that they will take action on what you just planted. Right? Like these ideas were not there. You came along, you just shoved them in there. They're like, hey, get this, stop. You're hurting me. Persuasion is more like tippy-toeing around somebody's mind and just taking a flashlight and shining it on these things that are already there. They just needed to be seen for the person to take action. Right? You're just in there. You're like, oh, were you aware that, if you passed away tomorrow, how you were you aware how you would feel about that? So now when you ask that question, how would you feel, if you passed away tomorrow and you left them without anything and they were struggling, how would that make you feel? So now the flashlight is shining on how they would actually feel because you shed light on that idea that they never considered. Right? The biggest difference for me in my career, like the transition, I think I shared this with some of you before, where I used to always convince people. I used to say stuff like, oh, well, I see here that you smoke cigarettes. About how much money do you spend on cigarettes every month? Oh, I spend about $250. Well, I don't think you should, I don't think you should spend all your cigarette money, on insurance, but I think you should probably at least do half of it, and take a little bit of your cigarette money and protect your family. I was convincing people. And from me convincing people and them not, already believing that they should have this, they were just canceling my policies and I was getting all these chargebacks because they were not persuaded to take action. They were convinced. It's a big difference. Okay. It's a big difference. Now, when we ask ourselves, why do persuasion have a bad rep? I mean, even as salespeople, when somebody was first, letting me know, like, I need to change my approach. You need to be more persuasive instead of just trying to tell everybody everything. I'm just like, well, that sounds bad. That sounds worse. I'm like, I need to be persuasive. That's to a lot of people, being persuasive sounds like a bad thing to be. Okay. So it's like, why is that? Well, psychologists and neurologists, right? They often say that it's easier for us to remember the bad things that happen, versus the good experiences. The same rule applies with persuasion. So when most people think of persuasion, they tend to think of all the negative influence situations they've experienced. Not too much thought on this counterpart. Let's say a man 75 years of age, bought 5 insurance policies from 5 different agents over his lifetime. Of the 5, only one person screw him over, sell him a policy that he should never had. Do you think he's going to share the story about the 4 good agents or the 1 bad?
The 1 bad.
Why?
Negativity has a more powerful impact on people.
More powerful impact is like it's more memorable. It's like, yo, when that happened, that put me in a bad situation.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? So it's almost like the positive things are too boring to talk about. It's not really entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
It's not moving us that much. Well, people rather hear the story how the careful driver stopped this vehicle, for the old lady crossing the street, or how the rowdy reckless driver ran a light and hit the old lady. People would be like, whoa, what happened when she got hit? Because if you're just like, oh, the guy stopped the car and nothing happened, they're gonna be like, oh, well, that's the end of that story. But when you say somebody got hit, now people engage. Is she okay? How was, what happened afterwards? All these things, did she sue? You know what I'm saying? So persuasion, like all things, have a scale of degrees. Bottom of the scale being negative, north of the scale being positive. As agents, we need to choose to hang out on the upper region of this whole thing, because persuasion is pretty much what we must do to build a strong book of business. It's not like really optional. It's something that we must do. Okay. So as far as persuasion and Janus words, do y'all know, is anybody familiar with what a Janus word is?
No.
No.
Okay. Have anybody ever heard the word contronym?
No.
So the word persuasion is considered to be a Janus word. Okay. These are words that have opposite connotations. Opposite connotations. So Janus words are looked at as two-faced words. And the phrase Janus, it comes from Janus, the Roman god of entrances and exits. So as you see in this image here, this is an image of Janus being depicted as having two faces, one looking forward and the other looking backward. So again, Janus words, sometimes people call them contronyms. So like another example of that could be the word bad, right? You use bad and it's considered a contronym or a Janus word, because you can say, hey, I think that kid, the type of stuff that he doing, I think he gonna end up in jail. That kid bad as hell. He on his way to jail, right? But you can also say, yo, that kid right there, man, did you see what he did in that spelling bee? That kid is bad. You see what he did? How many?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you can use that same word for, good or bad. And that's just pretty much what it is. So it's the same thing with persuasion, right? It can be good and it can be bad. We don't want to use it for the negative stuff, right? So at this point, I believe we have more understanding on persuasion's backstory. Sometimes we need to know a little more about something to understand it more. So I'm pretty much going to go into some more sections so we can emotionalize the information. I mean, it's not just about learning, but it's more so being able to take action, with picking up on these things. So when we talk about taking action, there's very few people who are better at taking action than Floyd Mayweather. Right. And I say that because, in his professional career, he literally never lost. And that came from learning the art of boxing, practicing and applying what he learned. Now, anyone, if you had to pick one thing that made Floyd Mayweather successful in the ring, what would you say that is? Like, what would you think that would be, in your own opinion?
His character.
His character. You think he was beating up everybody because
I've met Floyd Mayweather several times.
Okay.
I can tell you 100% it's his ego.
Okay.
I just think he's confident in his preparation. So
His ego.
Yeah, I think all these answers.
I go with control. I go with control because he made you fight his fight all the time. I think it's all just having sense and complete control.
Yeah. I like that.
His defense.
His defense.
He hit other people and he didn't get hit.
Right. That's spot on, right? Like, so, but the thing is like all these answers are correct, right? His character, his, like all this stuff, his ego, like all of that probably made this man say, the way I'm set up, I never want to lose. I never want to lose, right? And it's like, wow, how did that happen? But the answer that I pick is his reflexes, right? Somebody said defense, pretty much the same thing. I believe it was his reflexes that won him every single fight. Like you could say he threw punches fast. You could say he had solid power. Some people say he was too big for the weight class. But in my personal opinion, I believe it was his reflexes that attributed more than anything else to his wins. Okay. So I want everybody to write this down. Okay. You're going to write down what a reflex is. A reflex is the ability to respond without thinking. A reflex is the ability to respond without thinking. I mean, when you fool Mayweather, it's almost unfair when your reflexes are fly like. Right. Now, So we got that written down, right? So we're going to touch back on that in a second, but here's a quote from Mayweather. He says, I'm a boxer who believes the object of the sport is to hit and not get hit. That's what he was quoted as saying. That was his belief, to hit and not get hit. Everybody that's a boxer, you would think that's everybody's boxing philosophy, right? You would think that's everybody's goal, but it's not. Some guys are just like, I'm going to knock everybody out that gets in front of me. Right? That can lead to careless mistakes. And in turn, get yourself knocked out. So with his belief in not getting hit, you would think he spends a huge chunk of time on what? Practicing not getting hit.
Right.
That would mean he's working on what? His reflexes. He need to be able to react. Right? His reflexes, he need to be able to react when he see a shoulder move. So just think about this. You waited in line for 25 minutes to get a funnel cake. You now have it. A kid bumped you hard enough to knock it off your plate. What will you instinctively do?
Try to catch it.
Try to catch you. Will you have to think about that?
Nope.
You have to think about it, right? Your reflexes, oh, it's just gonna go. Now, if you stop to think about it, what's most likely gonna happen?
It's gonna fall to the ground.
I mean, if somebody asks you a question, is this life insurance, and you have to think about that, what do you think happens? You miss the opportunity.
Yeah.
The opportunity, the plate is dropped. The bag is dropped. However you want to, it's lost. We missed the opportunity because our reflexes to answering this question wasn't spot on. Right? When boxers don't react properly, where their reflexes are not sharp, they're getting punched in the face and they're taking losses. If our reflexes aren't right when we're out there asking these questions and people throwing questions back and we don't know how to respond to it, we haven't been practicing properly, then we're going to get punched in the face as well. So when it comes to insurance agents, some philosophies sound like this, and I hear it every day on our sales calls. I'm going to find the good leads and make a fortune. That's I'm telling you, we meet people, I'm like, so let me ask, what exactly are you looking for? A lot of people are like, well, I just need a good system. I'm like, that's it. All you need is a good system. That's it. Yes. So, I mean, the good system always consists of good leads. That's what people are referring to. So anybody that's operating from that philosophy, their entire career is out of their control. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have no control over that. And good thing is that's no one in this room, because we understand that to earn more, we have to learn more and apply everything along the way. No system will make us money, but the information, the techniques, strategies, working on our reflexes in response to questions will take our careers however far we like it to go. You know what I'm saying? When boxers get knocked out, they get knocked out. Fortunately, knockouts for us is pretty much as figurative, right? Like, our knockouts consist of phones and doors slamming on us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not interested, but I had your info. Click. That's a knockout in our world. We need to improve our reflexes, not only improve, but rewire the way our reflex system function when it comes to responding to people. Okay. And that's the biggest thing for us, is it's all about that. So that leads me to this question we all been asking: how will I know what question to ask next? Okay. So think about what Socrates did, right? He knew where his predetermined destination was. Like, he knew where he was trying to get to in that conversation. He knew his bottom line was to get this man to say, if you could have only been unintentionally doing this, unintentionally, corrupting the youth, which he really wasn't. I'm just going to spoil you the story. He wasn't doing it. This man was just he was just a hater. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But anyway, I don't want to go into that. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Socrates knew his bottom line was to prove, like, hey, if the worst thing that I could have done was unintentionally corrupt them. And in our case, there's no case here because there's no loss for that. And he started from top and he knew where to go. So you want to start from the top of your process. You have to know where you want to go. Okay, like, you have to know, like, if I'm starting from here, this person I don't know, and I want to get to a presentation. So what are we doing? We have to persuade to sell the appointment.
Right.
Right. And I'm trying to, like, again, there's no like one way of just going about it. Like, we show you our script, like, and y'all see our script is very short, because it's like, once you get into it, like, everything else is up to you. Like this is where your reflexes kick in. It's like we're helping prepare you before the fight. That preparation is, hey, it's Rocky with XYZ Insurance Company. The reason I'm giving you a call is because you filled out our form in regards to ... And I just wanted to know what your thoughts when you filled that out. That's the script. Now you're in a fight after that. And whatever comes, your reflexes have to be ready. They may say, you see what I'm saying? And that's where all the practice coming at. Like you just want to take notes. You'll know what to say because you're going to keep hearing the same thing over and over. Right? So this is where taking notes come in at. We have to understand what's happening. And that's why y'all also, which y'all can rely on us for as well. Y'all, what would you say if the person say this? This is how I would take control over that statement. I will flip it this way. Take a note of it. And then you can go ahead and practice that. Have somebody, asking you that question, and then you popping it back. So don't worry. We're gonna get into the tools, some more tools as we go into this. Right. I just want you to understand what we're doing here. So we're starting from the top and we're journeying all the way down to our predetermined destination. And through the journey of asking questions to arrive at getting it settled. And again, your reflexes are what's going to get you past the objections. You want to get minor agreements throughout that entire thing. Minor agreements. Every time we ask a question, it's just a minor agreement. Okay? When a person say, I'm not interested, and I'm like, oh, I understand that. Typically when people tell me that, it's because they couldn't qualify last time due to having poor health, or it was just a financial issue. Which one was it for you? Once they choose one, I just got a minor agreement to move forward to the next step in this. Y'all see that? So now the next in this process, now I'm saying, I'm like, okay, I already got some agreement right there. I got a yes. Now it's time to move and try to get my next one. Okay, perfect. Well, my next yes is I'm going to take it away. I'm going to build myself up for this person now. I already made them realize that, it's something that we can do. Oh yeah, I don't think I'll qualify because I have poor health. Oh, that's exactly why I'm calling. My job is to make sure, you know about the plans that you actually qualify for. But based off your answer, it sounds like you have zero awareness of what's actually available to you. Now, unfortunately, like, look, from right there, I could go straight into my question. I could go straight into, I'll be willing to squeeze you on my schedule. Is Tuesday better or Wednesday? Right? I could go straight into the question from there. But before I get there, I like to build it up first. I'm planting all these seeds before I do that. I'm like taking myself away. You know what I'm saying? I'm showing them, I'm summarizing what they said because I want to get a little mirror in there. I want them to get a little reflection that they're talking to somebody who's on the same page as them. So that's why I do all of that. Build that whole thing up and then come back with my next question. Is Tuesday better or Wednesday? Tuesday, right? So the appointment is sold. I persuaded them, right? And that's all we're doing. And it's the same thing in the sales process. The sales process is a lot longer, but we're just doing the same exact thing, but we're just getting, we have to know our processes. We have to know where we want to get to and how to get there. So to answer your question directly, how will I know what question to ask next? You have to know your process. You have to know your process. If you know the path, your process, your sales process path, your prospecting process path, you're going to know how to maneuver to get them to each step, right? Like if I know I need to be building rapport, I'm going to build some rapport. And then I know I need to, set the tone for the appointment. And then I'm going to go into asking some health questions. What do I need to ask next? Now I need to ask me some financial questions, right? What do I need to ask next? Now I need to start building up the needs. So now I'm asking questions like, oh, who's going to be that person responsible for picking up the pieces? Oh, John. Okay, so now in my head, I need to find something right here. I need to stay here until I find something that persuades them that they care about John and they know they need to make sure John is taken care of before I move on. Right now, I'm asking myself, what else? How many needs have I found so far? I only found one. Okay, what else could I look for? Maybe I could look for a need in this area. Let's check this out. What do you know what I'm saying? And that's how you will know. I say keep asking until you find 3 needs. You sell them on 3 needs. Persuade them that they have 3 needs. Okay. So all of that is going to, pretty much help you to get through that. So again, you want to get those minor agreements. So in the end, you can make the major agreement. Okay. Again, the major agreement is the sale. All those minor agreements, every time they stopped you and you persuaded them past that, help them see, like those were all minor. We get them to the major one at the end. And this is why I say we should be closing like 99% of our sales. That's done with skill. A lot of times agents think everybody don't got money. A lot of people, everybody got something. You know what I mean? The government is making sure people get something. Like if I started off only working with people in middle class and you know, the higher class financially. At New York Life, that's all we was being trained on. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I felt like when I became a broker and I was being talked about the final expense and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, oh, that should be easier. You know, people with less money, and then I found, I'm like, oh, that's more difficult because it's less money. So that means you have to be more skilled at making them see the little problems that they have, because they're not big problems, but they're still problems. Like a problem for flying somebody in, you know, to make sure your kid can be to your funeral, that could be a problem, but it's not a bigger problem than saying this person that got a $2.5 million house, and if they pass away and lose the income, the family that's used to living in this lifestyle get demoted down to an apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment. That's not the same level of problem. Like that person, the kid's whole world change. You know what I'm saying? So all of this is going to help you as you're doing that. So this is another thing, as you ask questions, okay, you'll be able to tell which area is a soft spot by the pitch of their words. Their pitch will change. You ask a question, they like, oh, well, I don't want to see that person end up like that. They pitch change. So now you know to stick around because something's going to come up. Well, why is that? Oh, well, because now you can get some more information. You might even find out about something that happened in the past. They may say something like, oh, well, you know, I know, you know, a few years ago, you know, somebody passed away in his family. And when that happened, you know, it sent him into, and I wouldn't want that to happen again. Right. So now you got some more information and now you can know where to go. Like, it's like anytime you think that you should tell them something, be like, no, let me turn this into a question and let them tell me. Okay. So the pitch of their words. Another thing is if you're doing, you know, face-to-face, unusual body movements. You ask a question, somebody might jerk. You might ask a body jerking question, like they like, oh, well, I never thought of that. Like you'll get all type of stuff. You got to pay attention to this stuff. This is what will let you know that you're touching a soft spot, right? The eyes going all over the place. Like you ask a question, they start looking all around like, shoot, you know, like all these things matter. All right. Once you notice these cues, you want to stick around the area until you find what moved them in the first place. Again, we're selling insurance. So we want them to agree with, you know, that it could be difficult for the family to come up with funeral costs, right? Nearly impossible to cover college tuition. Perhaps losing a house will hurt the family. You need to get some agreement with that. So we want them to agree to these things. And once they do, we move on. Okay. You want to probe until you find a soft spot. Last week, I mentioned the starting spot, which is the beneficiary. In most cases, that's where all the problems that need solutions lie at. Okay. So when we talk about Steve, Steve, for some reason, your video just popped up right here in front of me. I don't know why, but I want to role play with you real quick. Okay.
Let's do it.
So I just want y'all to just see, like, you know, how we can just ask questions and, you know, how we can stick like in the same area. Okay. So Steve, let me ask Steve, so Steve, should you pass away unexpectedly, who would be the person most likely to pick up the pieces?
I'd most likely be my wife.
Your wife?
Yes.
Oh, that's sweet. And how long have y'all been married again?
We've been married for about 2 years, together for 12.
I've been together for, you lucky, man. You lucky she ain't leave you.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, you're a blessed man. So I'm assuming you want to make sure she's taken care of, wouldn't you?
100%.
Why is that? So let me press pause. Do y'all see what I just did there?
Yeah.
I see how I made a statement, but what else did I do?
You build rapport.
I'm building rapport, but do y'all see what I just did was persuasive, because I didn't just make a statement. I still asked a question. So this is another way you can make statements and get minor agreements. I said, wouldn't you? That's a question. He said, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
He said, yes. You see that? So you can make statements, but be persuasive by tying a question on there. I'm into this technique with y'all. I said, Well, you see, I drew the little thing. I'm like, all right, y'all been together for 12 years. You want to make sure that, you know, y'all been together 12 or whatever, married 2. Oh, you lucky and everything. And then I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm assuming you want to make sure she's taken care of. Wouldn't you? Yes. I got agreement. Why is that? Now he's diving into it more. I'm getting more agreement. And I'm just going to be quiet and just listen. So let's just keep going. So why would you want to make sure she's taken care of? Is
Yeah,
it
I mean, I'm gonna be leaving behind a house.
Say that again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, you good. Why is that?
Yeah, I'm gonna be leaving behind the house payments, car payments, some college debt. You know, she's gonna have to take care of that. So I gotta make sure she has something in place for that.
Oh, I hear you completely. I mean, mentioning a house and a car, you know, these payments, I'm pretty sure they're not the smallest. As far as the home, you know, about how much do you own on your property?
Yeah, we just bought it, so we still have 400,000.
About 400,000. Is it what 30 years payment? 20? How many years is it?
Yeah, 30s.
30s. Okay, about 30 years. And do you have any children?
Yes, we have 2.
2 kids. How old is the youngest child?
7 months.
7 months. Oh, congratulations! Congratulations. I actually have a baby on the way, you know, and a 6-year-old. I'll just do something like that just to, you know, so that we have some similarities, right? Right. Quick things as we're gonna keep it rolling. So, but with that being said, you know, like you mentioned, you owe this money in over the next 30 years. And as far as your kids, you know, like, I mean, should you pass away tomorrow, would you want to make sure your kids stay in this house, or would you want them to have to downsize? What would you prefer?
No, I'd want them to keep the same lifestyle. Yeah.
But, okay. I just gave him the illusion of choice. Illusion of choice. Whichever one he picked, it still builds up the policy. If he want to stay here, he gotta protect what he already own in his house. If he want to downsize, now I'm like, well, how small would you like to downsize? Right? What's a price range? Let's put a number on it. We need a plan for these things. Y'all see how this is important for this man to know? So once he pick, we still have something to protect.
Right.
Right. So either way, like, he's benefiting by learning his situation through my questions. I benefit because either way, I get a sale. This is only one area that we at right now. Right. So do y'all see how I'm coming up with these questions based off what he's telling me?
Yeah.
This happened for us. We have to listen. You got to really pay attention to what's being said. You know, he's telling me he care about the family, you know, not losing a house, and understand it again. Like, you can do this stuff naturally, but I do believe, you know, when you understand this stuff, it makes it much easier, you know? So we're not going to go too deep into that. I want to pretty much crack into some of these control tools, some of the ones that we use steadily, and some of the stuff is not even in our training. But as far as the agreement magnet, okay, the agreement magnet is, you know, pretty much is putting the tie down at the end of your sentence. That's one of the things that I did with him when I said, oh, well, you will want to, it sounded like you want to make sure your wife is taken care of, wouldn't you? That's me tying it down at the end. Wouldn't you? With a question. Yes, I got some agreement.
Okay.
Right? For example, your wife would love to be able to keep the house, wouldn't she? Yes, I got agreement. Who would deny that? If he say no, then my next question would be, why not?
Right.
Right? No. She would want to keep the house. Oh, why not? Oh, well, because she don't really like it. We plan on moving. Do y'all plan on moving to somewhere bigger than this one, or somewhere smaller? Something bigger. Okay, well, how much do you owe on this house? About 400,000. So are you shooting for 6? No, I'm shooting for 8. Okay, so now we're gonna plan for 8. We wouldn't have never found out that they was planning on moving if we wouldn't have probed that area. Y'all see that? So we have to get these answers from them, and they also get to see their picture. We're putting a whole picture on paper, and then we're saying, hey, this is your story, and this is, you know, what do you want to do? This is our solutions you have to make sure, you know, the things that you want taken care of happens for you. So another way you can do this, you know, is you can actually invert it. Okay, you can actually invert this whole thing. So I know why my screen not changing. So you can actually invert it. So we call it the inverted agreement magnet, which is putting the tie down at the beginning. All right. So I'll see prior, I'll use it at the end. Your wife would love to be able to keep the house, wouldn't she? Yes. So another way to invert that, you would just say, you know, wouldn't your wife want to keep the house? Wouldn't your wife want to keep this the same thing? Yes, she would. Why is that? You see how you can like weave these things together? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to keep your house? Wouldn't it? Your wife would be happy your wife would be happy to keep the house, wouldn't she? You know, things like that. So you just want to be able to understand these things so you can know how to use them. It's very subtle, but it's controlled. That's what you need throughout that conversation. All right. Wouldn't you like to be better at persuasion, Esther?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I would say you have more control.
Wouldn't you?
Right.
So you see, you said right. You see, I got some agreement. Do y'all see what I just did there? I just threw in a third piece to that. So that third strategy would be called the label agreement magnet. All right, is when a person you're talking with makes a statement and you tie it down for them. She said it would be nice. I just said, wouldn't it? She said, yeah. So you see, I'm getting all this agreement. I'm getting all these yeses and just these small little pockets. So imagine you jump into different little pockets and you're just getting all this agreement, all these little minor ones. It's all setting up for the big one at the end. Like they're giving you this stuff. All right. So another way with this, the label agreement, the person can say, oh, I will want my wife to keep the house. You can say, I bet you would, wouldn't you? And just be quiet. They're going to be like, oh yeah, absolutely. If they already gave you all these reasons, I'll be like, you sound excited about this. Are there any other reasons why, why you would want that outside of what you already said? And I make them dive in even more. My wife would love if our kids were able to go to a university. I bet she would, wouldn't she? Yes. Yeah, she would. Why is that? So you just could keep this thing rolling. Keep getting all this agreement. You know, this is all we need. And again, all this stuff is the same exact things that we're using in when we're prospecting as well. It's the same concept. It just changes, when you're going into that sales process. The next one is the illusion of choice. Y'all see how Socrates used this with Milides, right? It's just you're giving them two options where it's going to still help you go in the same direction of your path to your destination, right? I'm trying to get to a cell. Would you rather your kids attend community college or university? Either one you pick, it's going to cost, which means you need to protect what you want. Would you prefer your wife to move into a smaller house or be able to continue to pay on this one? Illusion of choice. Either way, they're moving forward. So I feel like everybody is understanding this. Are we all good?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Everybody else following along? Everybody good? Want to make sure I'm not moving too quick.
Yes.
Okay, sweet.
Yep.
So yeah, so this is pretty much how we want to do this. Now, the other one I wanted to label this as hot potato, right? Because I like to label things is to make it easy, because all it is just all this stuff is abstract, right? We just got to put titles and labels on things just to make it easy for people to remember and be able to utilize things, right? So I call it hot potato because it's like, hey, if somebody throw a hot potato in your hand, what you going to do? You're going to throw it back, right? So that's what we're doing with these questions, is answering a question with a question to get clarification of, what they're asking. So how soon will this policy go into effect? Well, how soon will you need it to go into effect? Oh, well, I'll need it to go into effect by the 1st. You plan on going somewhere by the 1st? Where you plan? But let me know, right? You can make a joke out of it. You know what I'm saying? But it's just about knowing why they're asking that. Because if they say, how soon will this policy go into effect? And you can say, oh, it's going to take 7 to 10 days. They can say, oh, well, that's too long. The other company told me 1 to 2 days. I'm good. I'm going with the other company.
Oh.
Answer. Right? You can say, oh, well, it'll take 7 to 10 days. You can say 1 to 10 days. They can say, oh, well, that's too fast. That sounds like a scam. I'm going with the other company where it sound more realistic to me. So either way, like, you ever met anybody that's like, it's like, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't?
Yeah.
right? So that's kind of the situation you're in when these people ask you questions. You don't want to answer. You just want to assume that that's the type of person they are because you don't know. And it's better to be safe than sorry. You do all this good work, get all this agreement, and then you get down to this one little question that mess up all the good work you already did, just because you decided to give out an answer on a question where you didn't understand why they was asking you in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Somebody said, well, do you have whole life policies? Well, is whole life insurance the type of policy you like to protect your family with? Right? Because you don't want to say yes, and they be like, oh, well, you know, I always hear buy term, invest the rest, and you whole life people are scams, so I don't want to do no business with you. Click. Right? You don't get a chance because you were not in control. You answered the question. The ball went back in their court. They hung up on you. You don't even get a chance to defend yourself. So they ask you that question, you know, do you have whole life? You know, you figure out why. Don't give them the answer, anything. All these rules apply the same exact way. So the bottom line is this: we need to understand the art of persuasion and use it for the good that it can do in the world. Don't let anybody make you believe you're doing something bad by persuading people to do what's best for them, because you can receive a reward for it as well. The big thing is you want to practice responding to people in the form of questions, so you can reprogram your reflex response system and take control of the tools provided so you can make them yours and, you know, start making money. That's pretty much what we want to do. Again, I'll go back to this quote: persuasion can go through obstacles that force cannot. All right. And the bottom line is don't convince, persuade. So that's pretty much what I wanted to go over with y'all today. I hope everybody found this presentation to be useful, you know, and I hope that it just clear up, you know, the difference between persuasion and convincing a lot more, and will also enable everybody to ask questions and seeing that it's a good thing. You're doing good work by doing that. By doing the opposite, you're not going to be able to help others, you know, discover their problems, because they're going to shut down on you. And also you're not going to be able to help your own families financially, at least in this industry. Okay. Anybody have any thoughts or questions about anything I just covered?
At what point in the presentation would you say that the tools that you just shared with us would be most effective?
Well, the tools is pretty much like, I mean, I would say the needs section, but if I had to pick, I would say when you're building up the needs and the urgency, if I had to pick. But I'm saying this, the reality is like, I don't want you to think of those tools and try to figure out where should I use them at. The goal is to understand them and practice them so they can just become a part of you, so you can use them whenever it's necessary.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like it's not one instance where it's like I should use this tool for that. It's just like whenever a question is raised or however you need to use your persuade, those tools are at your fingertips. So you just have to practice and get real good with them. Like there's guys that only use a hammer to get all jobs done. There's guys that only use pliers to get every job done. You know what I'm saying? So it's like for you, you just can have access to all these different tools, like, you know, and use them how you like. The reason I like to give people more than just one, because you're persuading people. And when you're persuading, you are controlling the situation. People don't like to be controlled. If they get alerted that you're controlling them, like if you're just, your whole presentation, if you're just sitting there going, oh, it would be nice, wouldn't it? This would be nice, wouldn't it? You just keep saying, so wouldn't it? They're going to be like, whoa, what's going on? Like,
right.
You doing something. You're using the technique, right? We don't want this to be obvious. So that's why it's important to understand all of it and have all these different tools at our fingertips. So as we're going through, we're like, you know, interweaving all these different tools together. And they can't.
So it's recognizing that, like during the prospecting process, if they say something like, I really want to make sure that my wife doesn't have to move house if I pass away too soon. Like, I understand. So moving from that point, finding that as an opportunity to later use for persuasion.
Well, no, you're persuading the entire time. Like your prospecting process, you have to be persuading. So for example, right, like you just mentioned that scenario coming up while you're in your prospecting process, like when you're initially calling, right?
Mhm.
So if I called somebody and they picked up and they were just like, that's somebody that's not giving you any fight, right? They're kind of just letting you know what's going on. So for me to take control and me to test the seriousness of that idea right there, I'm going to say, okay, well, great. Well, say exactly what you said, just so I can show you how I would mirror that and turn it into a presentation.
I want to make sure that my wife doesn't have to move house if I die too soon.
Okay, I can certainly appreciate that. And I can appreciate that. What I would say is, pretty much if you don't want her to move, to a different house should you pass away, I do have some ideas. Do you have a minute? So you see, I'm just mirroring them just so they can see I heard what they said, and then I'm going with, do you have a minute?
Okay.
Because I'm alerting that person that, okay, this is what you're saying. I have something that I can share with you that can prevent that without me saying all these extra words.
Right.
Okay.
And then once we move forward, now I'm slowing it down, and then I'm going back into I'm starting from the top of my sales process and I'm walking to the bottom. Okay, that's why I say it's important for us to know our process. We got to go right where it started. We don't want to jump right into, like, if the person is talking about that, right? And I'm glad you bring up that example, Damaris, because I know for myself, I used to do this all the time, right? If somebody would start off the conversation like that, let's say I do get to my presentation, I would try to start my presentation right from there. I was jump right into it, like, so yeah, so you said that you wouldn't want them to pass, if you passed away, you wouldn't want your wife to move to a different house. Why is that? And then I'm starting from right there. I didn't start from the top.
Right.
Right. We got to remember, like, to just take a mental note or write it down if we have to, right, on what they care about, because that's where we can start at when we get to, the questions. We don't have to say who will be the beneficiary, because now we already know who they're thinking about. Right. So now we're going to take a step back. Do you have a minute? Yes, perfect. I have this, start confirming the information now. We do the email thing, send out the email, and then we start building a little bit of rapport, and then we start walking through our process.
Right.
But yeah, the entire time we're being persuasive. The entire time we're being persuasive is being in control. When you're not being in control. Like, the only other way to communicate with people, if you're not, especially in our line of work, is if you're not persuading, you're convincing.
Right.
And I believe at this point, everybody see why that is like really ineffective for us, right?
Right.
Okay.
Unless you get like a PT sale, where everything.
Yeah. You get one of those sales where no real work was done, and understanding is there, and it just gets
smoking and joking down here, and then charge back a month later.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for that, Damaris. Anybody have any other input that they'd like to add?
I'm just trying to summarize this for a dumb person like me. I say dumb person. I'm not like talking bad. It's just a joking way I say about me taking my time learning.
I got you.
So, like, to summarize today's training, if somebody like me was listening, it would be like, the process. Like, of course, we have to study our process, know what we're talking about. But throughout everything, audibles are always called, but they're called through questions. So you're always questioning. You never convince. You never make a statement without asking a question, letting them answer, letting them do all the answering of their own questions. And that's what I'm picking up, And then obviously today I learned the difference between convince and persuasion. So, but that's how I would sum it up. Question.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
yeah, I'm sitting there talking all that crazy stuff, man. You already you caught right on. So
I wrote down, like, persuade through the right strategy of questioning. That's what I wrote down as a summary for today.
Yeah, so, like, the thing is, like look, with persuasion and convincing, like these two words, like they're so close to each other, like it's very difficult to like break down the two. You know what I mean? Like, even like when you do research on it, like you just see like there's so many different opinions on it. You know what I mean? On the difference between. So that's why I want to show y'all like what the words actually mean, like, and you can see what the origin of the words mean. So it's like understanding that, like you clearly see that one way is forceful, and the other way is more soft.
Right.
You know, and
Right.
anytime when you just think of any conversation that you have when you're trying to convince somebody, you can see that it's more forceful when you anytime you think back when you try to convince somebody or something, you see that you pretty much can get some, some friction there. The person's sitting there trying to think, and then you may convince them, but they're like, I'm not gonna move on it because, but okay, it sounds good. It sounds real good. Like that's
We
about
have to let them convince themselves, basically.
Yeah.
So the way that you've been speaking and the way that this training unfolded, it made me realize how much time I spent as a mother convincing people that they wanted to do something that they didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, when my children were trying to convince me of something, they had to use the art of persuasion.
Yeah.
So it's a different way of approaching one. I mean, as a parent, I can enforce you to do something, but I'm not really persuading you because I didn't change your mind.
Yeah.
I'm just asserting my control. So okay, so this is a different. Okay, this makes sense.
Yeah, look, think about this, Damaris, when it comes to kids, right? Like my son, for example, if I tell my son to go clean his room and I go in there, he'll be in there like sitting down, like just looking at everything. Like he'll have one toy in his hand, and then I walk in there, he'll do a scary jump and look at me in the eyes, and then start acting like he was picking stuff up or whatever. Like this, I'm saying when I say go clean your room, that's how it happened, right? But like when I remember, like, okay, I need to persuade him, he'll get it done. He'll be like, Dad, can you buy me this game for my Switch? I'm like, well, let me ask you this. If you had that game, would that encourage you to clean your room every single day when you wake up? Yeah. Okay. So we both just got some agreement with each other.
Right.
It's like now he know that he want that game. He like, oh, my room dirty. Let me go clean my room and go tell my dad I cleaned my room.
Right.
Right. So that is kind of like swapping agreement. You know what I mean? Like it's like, but all this stuff, it just benefit everything in life. You know what I mean? Like you can, this is how you get what you want with less friction. Anytime you try to convince somebody of anything, it's coming across as being forceful. Go to your room. That's forceful. If you went to your room, like if the kid come up to you crying, and they like, my head hurt, well, if you went in your room and lay down, do you think your head will feel better if you got some rest? I think so. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's different, and it gets people to move. Persuasion is about moving people. For us, I say extremely powerful, and we need it because we need people to move forward to get policies with us.
Right.
Or we don't get paid. If we don't get paid, then we're what? Volunteers. Volunteers get paid. You know what I mean?
Questions over statements, right? Questions over statements.
Yes, sir.
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah. So, hey, I'm with it. Let's go, team. Let's go.
I love it.
You have something, Dwayne?
No, I was just saying I love it. No, I was just picking up on the story. Even I messed up sometimes with that because I was so used to talking to people on the phones, but even with my own kids. Rocky had to help me one time because my son had said something in school. Well, actually, he didn't say anything in school. He just was one of those kids. He's not going to be a snitch. He's like, I'm not snitching on nobody. So, he came home to dad, former police officer. I'm there trying to drill him like a, drill him. So Rocky's like, Dwayne, because Rocky's on the phone with me. He's like, all right, look. He's like, talk to him like this. I think you're, being very forceful with him. Okay.
Listen, I'm like, Dwayne, Dwayne, I'm gonna be honest. If I was your son, I would probably be pooping in my pants, bro. Like you ain't like he wouldn't say nothing. It's like Dwayne was asking, like, in this, this interrogative way, and Mason wouldn't say nothing. I was like, that little boy, he a beast. Like
I know how that is. My son, 70-year-old, tall, like, when he gets away with things at mom's, when he's at dad, he knows he's like straight and narrow. He's like, but then I do need to work on communication because I talk to him like he's a Marine, so I gotta work on that. I got a lot of work to do on that.
But look though, so the one of the big things that I want everybody to notice from that presentation is what I talk about with reflexes. Like, do y'all see how that's important? Most important of everything, your reflexes, because it's like once you get used to just responding in the form of questions, it turned into a, like, if you was able, like, when, like, just think about your nose, right? Like sneezing, that's a reflex system. That's a reflex. Like anytime, like whatever, you know, dust or whatever it is, like as soon as it our body just know to sneeze. You know what I'm saying? To get it away. Imagine if we were that sharp with our questions, you know, with asking questions. Like anytime somebody asks us something, it's just just like that, like right back at you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's the goal. I wrote it down. It said reflex. The ability to respond without thinking. That's the
like, you know what I'm saying? You talk the reflexes. Now, if your reflexes, somebody says they're not interested, and you gotta like, where's my script? And you're like this, and you don't want to be like that. You know, that shouldn't be a reflex you go to. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
slow down.
Look, that's one of the beauties, and like I feel like too, like we're having our lead system, because it's like you get to get those leads at a much lower cost. You know what I'm saying? It was like you got like, don't, like, even if the person turn you down, don't get rid of the lead. Like you could call them back a different day and just be ready for them next time. You know, like all of this is good practice. It's like it never, like we never stop growing as long as we're in a career, as long as we're doing this, right? Anytime somebody is telling you they're not interested, whatever is going on, or you get to sell, all of it is just good practice. If you just like look at it that way, like you're just going to be looking at yourself like, I'm just trying to like continuously grow, continuously get better, and never get comfortable being at a, you know, particular position. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, once you get there, like, let's just say if you got the ability to be like, hey, I want to do 50,000 this month. And then, you know, you set that goal when you go out and do 50,000. It's not like you really need to make 50,000 every month. Like bills just don't come with nowhere near close to that. But if you have the skill set to make 50,000, then making 20,000 is going to be a piece of cake.
Right.
That even making 20,000 or even making 10,000, that's crushing what the average human being made.
Right.
Average 95%.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't take much money. Like honestly, I'm just gonna share a story with y'all real quick. Like I remember when I was like really like completely like wiped out, like nothing. You know what I mean? And like I was just like, I got to make some money. It was like I need money, and I had commission breath. Like a lot of like stuff that I knew, like things I was aware of, I couldn't even think to be that sharp because my mind was cluttered with making money. You know what I'm saying? And then when it just gets to a point where you just like, oh, you know what? My mind is in the wrong place. I need to get helping people as best as I could. When you switch your mindset to just focusing on helping people, using all the tools that you have, the money is just going to flow. And then you just get into that groove. You know what I mean? And then again, like you just start making whatever you want to make. You know what I mean? Like if anybody ever, you know, been broke before or anything like that, you know what I'm saying? You will know just making $8,000 feels great. Like you don't have to fall victim to the idea of what these companies tell you need to be making to be happy or whatever. They like, you got to make 20 or 30,000 or 40,000. This person just did this. Like they don't got nothing to do with you. If your bill is only $2,000, right, and you made 5,000, like that's great.
Yeah.
You able to like put away, you know, an extra 3,000.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate when they do that. It's like I hate when they do that because it's like, you know, I'd be like, I don't need all that, bro. Just give me the minimum, you know. Well, not the minimum, but you know, I don't need all that money, bro. I mean,
so yeah, my point is that like, you know, we can make whatever we want to make, you know, like with focusing on a skill. Like if you're somebody that's like only need 8,000, like you go out and make your 8,000. You know, with this skill right here, you can make the 8,000 in a week and be taking off work for the next, you know, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I would say this though, you know, while you're taking off, like for me, I was working 4-day work weeks. Okay. So even though I only work 4-day work weeks, I practice all 7.
Okay. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like all 7, every day I was practicing. I had a scheduled time every single morning. Every day, 5 to 7, I'm practicing. You know, I'm practicing my scripts. I'm practicing, you know, responding. I'm practicing all my objections. You know, I'm looking over the new things that people said to me. How can I best respond to this right here? I never heard nobody say this. And I'm preparing for all this. You know, so it's like now once I go out, my reflexes is just like that because I've been saying this to myself. Like you saying this to me once. I said this to myself 200 times this morning. I told me I wasn't interested 200 times. You only saying it once. I'm wiping you right out.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's just we got to be that ready, you know, and all that just increase that reflex system. And everybody, I'm telling y'all, it'll be effortless. You know, I don't like to say it to sound like, you know, like cocky about it. I'm just saying, it's just true. Like once you understand the art of everything, you got the tools, you've been practicing and stuff. You're gonna be like, yo, I can just go out and just go make money. You could just knock on the door, just like, you know, just like this, just like you said you did yesterday. You know, somebody said, you know, I don't have enough time or whatever they said to you. You just like, well, you know, well, you need a lot of my time. You know, imagine if, you know, like you're practicing that regularly. And then anytime somebody say that, you're responding that way and it comes out more fluent. You sound more confident when you say it. Your body language is strong, everything, because you're just like, I'm getting inside houses with you. I'm happy you said that.
Right.
Like, actually get happy to like at this point, I'm happy with objections because I know how to handle them now. When you don't know how to handle them, then it's like it creates all this frustration. It's like, dang, another person said I'm not interested. Dang.
That
what?
was my favorite appointment yesterday. Like that guy was my favorite appointment. I mean, closed it, but it worked out exactly 6 times watching the video. It came out like a reflex. I wasn't even thinking about like, this is what I'm going to say. I just walked up to the door, knocked on it. You know, guy came up looking grumpy. I introduced myself. He's like, what do you want? I told him like what I was there for. And he said, well, I'm not interested. And I was like, well, why are you not interested? Like you asked me to come see you. I'm here to come see you. You know, just jokingly. And he's like, well, is it going to take a long time? I was like, well, do you need a lot of my time? It just came out. You know,
I got you, bro. So look, I know we've been on this call for a while. I want to take up more of everybody's time. Okay, but I do appreciate everybody for showing up. And again, I hope that, you know, everything that we covered on this call is going to help everybody to know what you need to be looking into. Like, don't let this be your only source of information. Like a lot of the things that you heard me mention today, it would be good to look into it yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like I mentioned, the Socratic Method. That's like something that came from Socrates himself. You know what I mean? Somebody who was great at asking questions. And a lot of what we teach today, when I first started, that's not something I was aware of. But from what I know today, what we teach, what a lot of the other people teach, that, you know, when it comes to communication and being persuasive, all of it is like, you know, broken down from that Socratic method of asking questions. Okay. So I would encourage everybody to look into that. I'm looking into it myself, to see what more can I teach, you know what I mean? And break things down more, but look into this stuff because it's going to help y'all. You know what I mean? It'll help you grow even more.
Yeah. Yeah. So yesterday, before we set off, I just kind of want to share just a quick story and show you like how this works live in person. And I kind of recorded it in my pocket. I wanted the agents to see like how easy it is approach strangers. So actually, it wasn't the guy. He actually earned my wife's, well, kind of really my business. My wife is in the bank. Long story short, I'm not with my wife at all. He just asked her. He said, "Hey, you start small talking to her," and he's wearing his t-shirt, it has something about beards on there. He's like, "Hey, he's like, your husband have a beard?" And she's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, great." He's like, I work with a lot of people that have beards, and I want you to get this to your husband. Check me out. So, just for him opening his mouth, like, I kind of wanted to, kind of like just talk to him, see what all his beard stuff is all about, and I want to try his oil out. So I ended up, contacting him and getting his beard oil. But I went to meet him in person. But I want to show you how when I met him in person, I kind of recorded it, on my phone. I want to see like, how easy it was to get an appointment with him about what I do. So here, I'm gonna let you listen here. So
is it playing, Dwayne?
Yeah, hold on, put this in speaker.
2020. Yeah.
Can you hear it now?
Sure. Yeah. All right, man. Do your business, and I hope you like it. I hope you become a recurring customer, man. Yeah, I'm just trying to make it, man. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. What how long you done a beer roll then? 2 years. 2 years? Yeah, it's on the T-shirt since 2020. That's good. And for real, longer than that. Because I made the oil, and then I made the logo after the oil. You know what I mean? Yeah, and the logo is me. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, all I did was erase my face. I got you now. That's my mission in Delaware. You know what I mean? It's on check the beard look. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? On the it's on. No, I'm saying the logo. It's the same thing. Yeah. And Filmic is my last name. Yeah. Yeah. Like someone for the fire no.
Is anybody having a hard time hearing what the guy is saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Little
So,
bit.
hey, you asked about this. So here it goes right here. Let's just get to the point.
Sometimes they tell you because you can say, but you can't do this and do that. So I stepped out on faith. I make enough so I can get off disability.
So he just told me he's on disability and he hopes to get enough off of disability. That's what he's doing now. So at that point in time, I tell him I work with a lot of people on disability and I help them replace income gaps with their families. He's like, oh yeah, that's great, man. He's like, let's have a time to meet. And it was that simple. So
Right.
So that literally happened right after that.
Right.
But yeah, just keeping that conversation going. Just talking to him, getting to know him, and then just book the appointment that quickly.
Could I ask a question? I don't want to take up everybody, but this is just where I'm at. But could you guys give us a short version of what your take is on vision and how important it is in this business?
On vision, I mean, I would say it's everything in my personal opinion, because it's like if you don't have it, you're not gonna know where you're going.
Right.
And as you can see, even from the presentation today, that was talking about having vision in just that one process, right? Vision in your prospecting process, right? Know where you need to go so you can ask the right questions to get there. So now if you want to, move that scope back and take a look at everything outside of those processes, now you need to know where you need to take all this to, because now this is way more than just these two things.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that vision, you need it, because it's if you don't have it, now it's you're not even going to be that effective or even want to practice all the things inside of it. You know what I'm saying? Because this is repetition. This is something you have to do consistently. If you really want to get skilled at anything, right, you got to do it continuously, without ceasing, nonstop. Keep going the same thing over and over. One thing I like from Kobe Bryant, I was listening to one of his videos, and he was just saying that, all he did, he only practiced, one thing at a time each summer. Each summer he just focused on one thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's all these people that's practicing all day, my handle getting better right now, my jump shot getting better. I did all this stuff this summer, but this guy only worked on one thing. So imagine how sharp he's going to be at that one thing. So the good thing for us is we only have we have this area of persuasion. That's the number one thing we got to focus on and practice on every single day. And we just focus on that one area, it's going to take care of everything else. That area take care of the big vision. Because the big vision is obviously, whatever it is you want. You want a certain type of house, a certain lifestyle, whatever that is. The skill, the art of persuasion, having that skill is going to make that vision come as fast as you want it to come.
Right. Thanks.
Yes, sir. So yeah, any other questions from anybody?
Nope.
I just had one quick comment. I think one of the biggest things I'm going to work on after this is going to be understanding my process and knowing and replacing some of those old word tracks with the word tracks that are inquiring or using just a small statement and then in the form of a question, and going through and just start practicing that more so that I have something to really sort of drill down. Right now, I've just been kind of doing it based on memory and, you know, spending time with you, you know, on these calls and in the trainings, but really getting that down for myself and replaying it and almost like meditating on some of those scripts is definitely where I'm going next.
Yeah. This is definitely a thing where it's like, it's not something where you, like a lot of people, they just show up to trainings and things like that. But it's like, this is really, you want to look at it like it's like college, university or something. You know what I'm saying? Like you are like, and this is like college, you got to do 4 years, 8 years, whatever your degree entail of, right? But with this is long-term. It's like, this never stopped because this always change. People always change. The times change. We had to adapt when COVID happened, right? A lot of things change. So it's like, we got to stay up to date on what science is, you know, what new things, what new discovery science have today, you know, knowing the things that they're discovering and from psychologists, all these different type of things, all of that helps us to know best how to proceed in our business. You know, so this like never end. Like you want to have like a set time when you're doing this every single day. You know, my hours was, you know, like I like to do it real early. I like to start 5 or 6, you know, just start early before my actual day even start. You know what I mean? Like, for example, with this, like being in the position I am today, like with, having this company and doing family group consultants and doing like my photography business, I pretty much like to, I got to start early. I got to start at like 4 o'clock now. So I can, you know, exercise, right? Do some meditation and then also study for a couple hours, right? I'm always studying people. I'm always trying to learn, you know, origins of things so I can have an understand, where did this come from? Why is this like that? Like the same thing that we're asking people questions, right? We got to ask ourselves questions as well so we can get these answers. Because one thing you're going to figure out is you're going to have more questions more answers than you need, for more than you need. If you got more questions, more answers than you need for yourself, when other people ask you questions, you're going to have the answer. And the person with the answers is valuable, right? When you have the answers, you're now more valuable. And all of this helps with whatever profession you're doing. Like, it's like, it was easy to transition into photography because when I'm sitting there and I'm working with clients, we having conversation and things like that, I could introduce them to an idea that something that they never considered or thought of, and then give them some more details. And they're like, whoa, I really like this guy. This ain't, you don't seem just like, I thought I was just coming out here to take photos. I didn't know I was about to, you know, learn how I can do this better with my spouse or do, you know what I'm saying? All this stuff add more value and they get you more referrals. It's like, yeah, this person will give me referrals because they like how I feel, how they can make a stronger connection with the person they with. It ain't even about the photo now. Right? Yeah. So all the answers we can compile in our minds, you know, and share them, like it just show the work that we'll put in. That's work. You know what I mean? It's work. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. When I heard that, it was just like, whoa, I never thought about that. I only thought about working on the job. I never thought about working on myself. Right. You know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much where you want to go, because you are the value. Jay-Z said, I'm not a businessman, I'm a business man. Like that man filled himself with so much value that he's now a business. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, like just like Rocky was talking about, you know, unfortunately, when there are a lot of people coming to the insurance industry and you're kind of just thrown in there, you know, it's like, you know, so you got to you got to learn your craft. Like, you know, just imagine if a doctor, you know, I know a lot of people, like their good training is, you know, oh, we got some dial sessions that we jump on. Like, imagine if a surgeon that just came into the industry of being a surgeon just said, you know, okay, I'm just going to watch this surgeon perform these surgeries here, and I'm going to jump right in right afterwards. Right. You know, what, like, would you want that person work on your heart, or would you want the person that went to school, learn the craft, and then got into it to work on you?
The real question is how many people would that person have killed?
I have a question. Do you guys use a dialer to call clients?
So,
or do you get,
like a dialing system?
Yeah.
Well, no, we never like we tried it before, and just you know, kind of just had like we just use our regular, for us personally, just use our regular, just mostly because like it put us in a mindset like to rush the call. So we kind of just wanted to be, take our time, just call the person and, just, there's no rush, just, you have your process. But it's
okay.
personal preference, that's just.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. I felt like when I got phone burner, I used it for like 2 weeks, and I feel like it do exactly what it do, like it burned through the dials. But also like I felt like subconsciously it was programming me to feel like I'm in a rush. I got to get through this real quick, almost like I don't want to die. And it's like, I have to dial to make money. I have to dial to be in a good attitude when I do this. I have to be happy about this. So when I connect with somebody, they can feel my positive energy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like all that stuff kind of trickle in when, with just like, when you're not aware of those little subconscious things that's happening behind an idea, it like affects your behavior and the way that you talk to people, the way you feel about what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? So as long as you're aware of, if you just like, hey, look, I don't mind burning through all my stuff, like, and I'm happy with that, that's, you know what I mean? That's cool. But just for me personally, that's how I felt about it.
Okay.
So yeah, y'all some troopers. Y'all stuck out with us, man. Appreciate you all for again showing up and asking all the questions, because y'all like I was just like, yo, I keep getting this question. I got to figure out like how I can like get this, help people understand this. You know what I mean? Because again, it's definitely difficult. Like and that's why I don't ever bash like people at different companies, because it's like I know as a teacher, it takes like, a lot of study, a lot of, time to put into learning something, and then trying to figure out how to break it down to other people. That's the difficulty in having, a team or anything. You know what I mean? That's why I respect, pastors so much, because it's like every single week they coming up with a 2 hour, hour and a half like presentation, and then they nailing it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's impressive. And I personally believe they shouldn't make a lot of money for that, because that's a lot of time. Again, they're practicing to deliver a magnificent speech every single week and make everybody else, believe and feel good about what they're teaching. That's an art. That's a skill.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's another way y'all can think about yourself, and y'all go into a home where you talk like, this is the presentation. I need you to be excited about what we're doing. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna let y'all go, because this is like this. We could go all day.
All right, thanks, Rocky.
So yeah, y'all all have a blessed day. Okay.
You too. Thank you.
Still not work on that script.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we could do that.
Okay.